I've started One Piece, right? And I just reached the halfway point of episode 516. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm sitting at episode 516. I want to take maybe a 1 or 2 week break before I pick up the show again and start catching up to where One Piece is currently going. Yeah, I'm really just going to talk about the overview, bro. I really ain't got much else to say. I'm going to talk about the overview of just the whole show from episode 1 to 5 to 516 and explaining my thoughts on it. But I'm going to explain it in 4 different categories, starting from plot, action, experience, and setup. I'm going to, divide it into those 4 pieces and just talk about it from that. So from the plot perspective, One Piece is just, it's not, if you think you're going to go into the show and have a simple plot, you're not getting that shit. One Piece is not a basic one plot kind of thing. From the beginning, sure, maybe plot's pretty basic, but once they start racking up those crew members, once they start doing real adventures, you're gonna see that plot and the story branches out into so many different things, but they do still keep a good essence of Luffy wanting to become the Pirate King. They still do a great job at keeping that idea prevalent, but there's so much more that it dives into, aside from that. I'm talking, you still got, and you still got the rest of the crew hats, the rest of the straw hats goals too. You got Sanji wanting to become, you got him wanting to become a great cook and also sell all the blues, find all those fish, just meet the all blue. He wants to find that. You got Robin wanting to be a great archaeologist. You got her wanting to discover the world and, finish what the Ohara started. You got Nami wanting to be the greatest navigator, sailing all the seas. You got Usopp wanting to be a super brave warrior and overcome his fear of not being useful in fights and situations. You got Zoro wanting to become the greatest swordsman on the planet above Mihawk. You got Frankie. He wants to be a great ship navigator. He wants to be able to, not a ship navigator, a shipwright. He wants to be the best shipwright. He wants to build the best ship under the person who's going to become the Pirate King. There's so much to that, aside from Luffy's goal. And it's crazy, dog. The story's insane. But at the same time, I feel that's what keeps you attracted to the show. Because you're always thinking about all these other things and all these other ideas and mysteries and stuff that have not been completed, and that starts to get you thinking. You start putting up together theories and stuff just because of how much content they provide you with. So the action just isn't. It's not mind-boggling. It's a very standard way of approaching combat. Don't get me wrong, they have good moments and cool moments, but I feel it's more of the context behind the fights. It's more of the story behind the fights and what they have to do because of this fight. But the actual fights are still good. They're still really good fights, and they have a lot of dope moments. Especially Marineford when Whitebeard did that move and it freaking started lifting up seas and all the seas around them were tilting and all that. That was insane. They have cool moments, but it was more the meaning behind that. Why is Whitebeard even here in the first place? Why is he using his full power at the age of 72 years old? What's the purpose of that? That's what makes the fights overall more impactful. But the moments and things that they do during a lot of the fights in the show, I still feel are really, really nice. Experience, like I said, the experience is good, but you have to be tolerant. You have to be very, very tolerant because One Piece is a long experience. It is a long experience. And if you know how animes be sometimes, and you know you're not gonna be able to sit through a lot of them a lot of the time. Because One Piece especially in the early parts of the show, I do feel they drag out a little bit. It's not an unbearable amount of dragging on episodes, but in some arcs, Alabasta, the beginning, the first arc a little bit, they do drag a tight bit, and some people, they just don't. Their attention spans nowadays are trash. So if you're not on high timing in the beginning of the show, they're gonna drop it. So if you think you're gonna come into One Piece, it's gonna be some Demon Slayer type stuff, and you're gonna have crazy stuff happening at the beginning of the show, it's just not that way. One Piece is more of a progressive show. You gotta be patient. You have to see the show through the highs and the lows to be appreciative of it at the end of it. That's the whole significance of the show at the end. If you're a tolerant person and you really want to watch something that's going to keep you occupied for a while, then the experience will be for you. But just know not every part of the show is going to be a 10 out of 10, because I know how TikTok people make it sound. They try to make it sound like One Piece is the best show on planet Earth with no flaws. Yeah, no, One Piece has outrageous flaws, but at the same time, like, just be tolerant, bro. Be patient, be tolerant, and you'll feel rewarded at the end, bro. The last category being set up. The setup for the show is like, bro, there are so many points that are just not finished. Like, it sets up so much, but at the same time they leave you with so much too. So it's like, even if you genuinely hated the show and you made it to that halfway point of the show, there'd be so many questions that you have. Even if you genuinely just hated One Piece, you would still come back just due to sheer curiosity, just wanting to come to completion with a lot of those thoughts and a lot of those cliffhangers that they leave you with. But it also, the thing that I like about this setup is, because One Piece has been a lot of, it's not necessarily goofy, but the way that the Straw Hats approach life in their careers as pirates is they kind of see it as being laid back. But as they pull up to Sabaody and there's that whole situation, and there's them fighting against Kumas and Kizaru and just people who are just leagues above them, the way that it humbles them, and the way that, because right after that they go straight into Marineford, and that's even more humbling. But the way that it just humbles them and shows them that they're just so small in the grand scheme of things. Like, there are thousands and thousands of pirates out there in the Grand Line, and it's respectable when you got a bounty of like 300k and your whole crew's like 600 million bounty. I mean, you're not gonna be sitting back training and stuff, like, but you gotta keep in mind they're constantly moving on the clock, so they don't necessarily have a lot of time to train either. The only person who does that on clock and off the clock is Zoro. He's the only person who be training 24/7. The rest of the crew, they just be laying back and going through the adventure. So, like, it just sets up such a different mood, because they're not used to training, they're not used to working on their skills to fight people who are 10 times stronger than them, because when they pull up to Marineford, it really humbles them. Seeing how strong Whitebeard was, and Luffy trying to go save Ace, and every time he pulled up to like an Admiral or Warlord, he couldn't last more than 5 seconds against them. Somebody would have to step up and stall because he just was not on their level. So it really puts him at such a low scale compared to everybody else in the universe. That's why I feel like the mood in the second part of the show is gonna be so, like, it's gonna be a lot of a more serious mood, because Luffy doesn't really have the time to be goofing around. He doesn't have the time to be playing around, especially how they ended it with Blackbeard having both the Tremor fruit and the Dark fruit, and that's his like #1 competitor for wanting to become the king of the pirates. Like, Blackbeard is literally he's the same as Luffy, but he's the opposite at the same time. Like, that's his #1 contender. So the setup for the show on the second part is wild, because you got all of that, and then there's so many more mysteries on top of that. Bro, as an overview of the whole show, One Piece is good. It is very good, actually. I think it has some of the best elements that I've seen in anime so far, in terms of a wide perspective, from that being world building, real world elements, backstories. It just has such good elements in every category that animes don't do on a wide scale. Because some animes may have 1 or 2 of those in their show, but they won't be consistent with all of those in their show. From what I've seen so far in One Piece, I think they have all of that. I think they have all of that in the show, and they keep it at a good, nice level, and they explain it very, very well. So I think One Piece has that. I think they got that in the bag. But at the same time, like, it's not a show you can get into if you're not patient. That's the thing with a lot of these newer animes nowadays. It's just, so much action, there's so much stuff going on, but due to a lot of that stuff going on, they don't really get in touch with a lot of these other things in the story. Their world building might not be as good. Their backstories might not be as impactful either, because they're so focused on dealing on, oh, how does the animation look? How do the fights look? How are the fans gonna interpret this? They're so focused on so many other minor pieces, like they don't get the main idea finished. They don't get it finished. So basically what I'm trying to say in the end, if you want a show that's gonna keep you occupied for a while, like I said earlier, and you want a combination of elements from mystery to discovery to adventure to action to comedy, and you want it in a great balance in one show, One Piece is for you. But at the same time, it'll have those. But you have to let it get to that level. Don't expect all of that from the jump, because it's not like that. Let it climb up to its level. Let it get to that level. You're gonna be rewarded, and you're gonna feel very thankful once you get there. But please just be patient. People say it a lot. Just let it cook. Let it get to that level. And trust me, it does. You just gotta be really patient. But yeah, those are my thoughts on One Piece. I do plan to do Secret Invasion as well. I do plan to do an overview on that once all 6 episodes are out. So that's probably the next overview I'm going to be doing. If there are any other shows, any other stuff y'all want me to watch, y'all can post them in the comments. And yeah, those are my thoughts. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.